Ticks are perhaps the most resilient creatures on the planet. They can go without food and water for years, survive in a vacuum, and endure extreme temperatures. I decided to test this in practice and sent several test subjects into an environment where 99% of living organisms perish instantly. The results of this experiment honestly shocked me, but in order to test them, I had to catch them first, and that turned out to be much harder than I thought. My plan seemed simple. I went into the forest where there was a lot of dry, last-year grass. I thought that ticks climbed to a height of 1 to 1.5 meters to latch onto a passing victim. Therefore, as a tool, I used an ordinary disposable baby underpad. It is white. Any insect is perfectly visible on it. I walked through the thickets for 3 hours on the first day, then another 3 hours the next day, changing 5 locations. The result was absolute zero. I found nothing. What was my mistake? I began to study their habits more deeply and realized that I had acted too simplistically. Ticks are not stupid insects that just sit and wait. They are such perfect hunters that I couldn't even have imagined it, and they have their own clear rules. It turned out that I needed to look not just for a forest, but for specific points of concentration, and here is what is important for them. Humidity. Ticks are extremely sensitive to drying out. Therefore, they love lowlands and riverbanks. It is always humid there, even if the sun is scorching in open areas. Movement. Why sit deep in the forest where no one walks? Ticks congregate along paths. They orient themselves by the smell of sweat, exhaled carbon dioxide, and heat. As soon as I changed my strategy and went to the river, to the trails where people and animals walk, things started moving. In just 30 minutes, I caught 5 highly active individuals. I became interested in their history, and what I learned is impressive and frightening at the same time. Ticks are arachnids, but they branched off from the spiders familiar to us hundreds of millions of years ago. The oldest tick finds in amber are about 100 million years old, but according to genetic research, they appeared much earlier, approximately 300 to 400 million years ago. They existed on the planet even before the first mammals appeared here. In 2017, a unique specimen was found in a piece of Burmese amber, a tick entangled in a dinosaur feather. They sucked the blood of Tyrannosaurs and Spinosaurus. Look at it up close. An adult has 8 legs, and each one is a perfect mechanism for fixation. On the ends of their legs, they have claws and suckers. This allows them to hold on to any surface so tightly that they are difficult to blow off, even with a strong stream of air, or wash away with water. Most exotic ticks do not have eyes in the usual sense. Instead, the hauler's organ is located on the front legs. This is a complex system of receptors that detects infrared radiation, the victim's heat, and the concentration of carbon dioxide from dozens of meters away. What we call the head is actually a complex instrument. There are chelicerae that cut the skin, and a hypostome, a kind of barbed harpoon that anchors securely inside the wound. And the most frightening thing, look at it now. Over these hundreds of millions of years, ticks have practically not changed. Their biological design turned out to be so successful and perfect for parasitism. They survived the Great Extinction, which wiped 75% of all living things off the face of the earth. The ticks didn't give a damn about any of it. They simply fell into anabiosis and waited for their hour. Well, now let's check if they will be just as indifferent to what I have prepared for them today. I chose 5 substances that are in almost every home: acetone, vinegar, hydrogen peroxide, baking soda, and kerosene. I did not conduct experiments with ordinary water. I'll just say that ticks can easily live in it for more than 3 weeks. They literally don't care about the lack of oxygen in the water. Let's see how they cope with aggressive chemistry. Let's start with peroxide. The reaction started instantly. The tick began to boil, and its body was covered with myriads of small bubbles. Despite this, it continued to actively move its legs and swim. Hydrogen peroxide is a powerful oxidizer. Upon contact with organic matter, it decomposes into water and active oxygen. For most microorganisms and small insects, this means instant destruction of cell membranes and death. but the tick has a dense chitinous shell that works like armor, holding back the chemical attack. Let's see what happens to it in a few hours. I pour the soda solution over the second subject. The reaction was strange. The tick simply tucked its legs in and froze. In 30 seconds, not a single movement. Soda creates an alkaline environment. For many living beings, this is critical, as alkali corrodes organic matter. However, here, most likely, a protective reflex was triggered. The tick felt the change in the environment and sealed itself, closing its spiracles, breathing holes, so that the chemistry would not get inside. As soon as the vinegar touched the tick, it literally went crazy. Hyperactivity began. It tried to get out of the solution, but after 20 seconds, it froze abruptly. Under the microscope, it was visible that the mouthparts and the tips of the legs were still making barely noticeable convulsive movements. Acetic acid aggressively affects proteins. Most likely, the tick felt pain or strong irritation of the receptors, which caused a short-term burst of activity. This is a chemical burn in its pure form. With acetone, everything did not go according to plan. At first, the tick began to move frantically, then froze, but continued to show signs of life. And then an unexpected reaction began. The plastic flask became cold, turned cloudy, and became covered with a white layer. Bubbles formed around the tick's legs. Acetone is a powerful organic solvent. It began to dissolve the plastic of my flask, and this reaction is endothermic, so the temperature dropped sharply. The white layer is the precipitating polymer. For the tick, acetone is fatal because it instantly dissolves the waxy layer on its shell, which retains moisture. Without this layer, the tick should dry out from the inside in a matter of minutes. Kerosene showed a similar picture to vinegar: a sharp jerk, an escape attempt, and after 20 seconds, complete immobility. Under the microscope, no signs of life. What is the power of kerosene? Unlike water, kerosene has extremely low surface tension. It doesn't just envelop. It penetrates into the smallest holes, into the tick's spiracles. Kerosene blocks the access of oxygen and simultaneously poisons the body with toxic hydrocarbons. 2 hours have passed. Almost no one showed signs of life, except for one, and that was number 4 from the soda. It was not just moving, but trying to crawl. True, after another 30 minutes, it also finally froze. Perhaps it simply resisted the longest, or fell into a deep anabiosis. I watched them for 2 more days. No one else moved. Do you think they really died, or just switched off to wait out the unfavorable conditions? Given their history of hundreds of millions of years, I would not be in a hurry to write them off. That's all. If the experiment was interesting, subscribe to the channel. New interesting videos will appear here soon.